Everyone, welcome back to Study Philia Education. In the last lecture, we studied the Paleolithic period in India, and in today's lecture, we are going to study the Mesolithic culture. So, Mesolithic culture is a transitional phase between the Paleolithic age and the Neolithic age. That means it comes in between. It has qualities, or we see evidences of Paleolithic culture as well as Neolithic culture. Mesolithic age began around 8000 BCE. During this period, we see a rise in temperature and the climate becomes warm and dry. This warm climate is associated with the onset of Holocene age. The Holocene age began around 10,000 BCE. So the warm climate, this transition, this rise in temperature that we see in the Mesolithic period, which starts around 8,000 BCE, this is just an onset for the Holocene age. We'll study about the humans we see in this age, the tool technology, the economy and the art in the Mesolithic period. So Mesolithic is a cultural stage belonging to human beings who were completely modern in their biological characteristics, and these human beings who have these modern biological characteristics were known as Homo sapiens sapiens. Now comes to the tool technology. So there is a development in tool technology. We see evidences of microliths. So what are microliths? Microliths are composite tools which are meant to be hafted or glued to form a serrated edge. These looked like tiny blade tools, and they were usually in a very geometric shapes, that of a triangle. Now let's come to the economy. So we see that in the Paleolithic period, the economy was based on hunting and gathering. But in the Mesolithic period, we see that not only the people, the humans there were dependent on hunting and foraging, but at some sites we see evidence of domestication of animals. And let's come to the art. So the Mesolithic period is famous for its rock art around the world. So what is rock art? Rock art or paleo art of our ancestors is the earliest signature drawn on rock surfaces. These rock arts were done on open cliffs as well as inside the rock shelters and caves where they lived. Since these rock arts were made on surfaces of open cliffs, there is a possibility that many of such rock arts were washed away over a period of time. But the evidence that we found it inside the rock shelters. It can be seen, the rock art can be a type of rock painting which is known as a petrograph, or in the form of engraving. If it is an engraving, it will be known as a petroglyph, and if it is a painting, it will be known as petrographs. Now let's study the tool types and technology during the Mesolithic period in detail. So microliths were predominant. What we mean by this sentence is just only microliths weren't found there. There were a lot of type of tools like bone and antler tools. There were macroliths that were heavy duty tools. Different types of tools were found, but the most dominant one, the predominant tool that archaeologists found during the Mesolithic period is the microliths. But that doesn't mean that during the Mesolithic period these microliths appeared all of a sudden. We see that microliths start occurring in the last phase of Paleolithic culture, but they become predominant in the Mesolithic culture because as the Mesolithic period began, the human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, realized that these tools were very easy to carry over long distances, and they could carry these tools to a places where the suitable rock wasn't available. So these Mesolithic people could now settle down for a long period of time. And that is why, to settle down for a long period of time, they exploited extremely sharp and hard materials like flint, chalcedony, agate, carnelian, etc. Now, the tool technique which was employed to make these microliths was known as punch and pressure, which developed during the Upper Paleolithic period. So we see that in the Mesolithic, that is in the transitional phase, we see qualities of both the period, the Paleolithic period as well and the Neolithic period as well. So the technique they used was punch and pressures. And that the way I told you before, that microliths, they are mostly in geometric shapes, but there are some who are in non-geometric shapes. So the geometric shapes can be of trapeze, triangle, and the non-geometric types are named by the nature of blunting the back. So this means that those tools, those microliths which didn't have a geometric shape, they functioned as scraper, knives, blade, awl, burin, borer, etc. Microliths were composite tools. They had different purposes, and they were used for plant gathering, harvesting, slicing, grating the plant fiber. We see that in the Mesolithic period, we see a continuation of the upper Paleolithic tool types such as scrapers. So these scrapers were the new types of axes and picks, and they were considered heavy duty tools known as macroliths. According to the nature of working edge, they are termed as axe or adze, which means that they are made on stone, and these tools are made by flaking and making traverse working edge. Other than macroliths, we see bone tools and antler tools, which are yet another category of tools used by the Mesolithic people. The bone tools are mainly found in the form of barbed harpoons. Bones are also used as hafts for making composite tools. Now let's see some important sites in the Indian Mesolithic. These sites are found in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, etc. What these sites actually tell us? So these sites, they show that the Mesolithic people lived between 10,000 to 2000 BCE. In the later part of their history, they came into contact with many rural and urban centers, and as a result of this interaction, they interacted with different people. Their nomadic and hunting gathering way of life underwent a transformation. So they slowly transformed into the Neolithic society. The majority of hunter-gatherers got settled, took up agriculture and other sedentary occupations. This is just one of the theories that is based on these archaeological excavation of these sites, which shows the transition from the Mesolithic to the Neolithic period. Now let's come to the rock art section of the Mesolithic period. So we know what a rock art is. It is in two forms mostly, that is petrographs and petroglyphs. Again, I'll repeat that petrographs are the paintings and petroglyphs are the engravings. So let us see some rock art sites in India. So rock art is widely distributed in northern, western, eastern and southern part of India. Starts from Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, Manipur, Himachal Pradesh, and it stretches up to Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Rock art are also found in the mountainous region of the Vindhyan and Satpura ranges, which confine in the central Narmada Valley, where Stone Age humans have flourished. Bhimbetka rock shelters, which we are going to study in this lecture, are found in the Vindhyan range, and the Adamgarh and the Panchmari in the Satpura range. These two, the Bhimbetka and the Panchmari, they are most important rock sites in India, and they are found in the Vindhyan and Satpura ranges. Now let's study this case study of Bhimbetka. So Bhimbetka rock art site is in the Raisen district of Madhya Pradesh. The hill, with an area of 1 square kilometer, is topped and by disjointed monolithic rocks. As you can see in these photos, there are huge monolithic rocks which are in disjointed positions. So the hill of Bhimbetka have such rocks, which contain at their bases and sides a complex of nearly 800 prehistoric rock shelters and caves. So you see that these are huge monolithic rocks, and inside them we have cave and shelters which hold nearly 800 prehistoric rocks and shelters. We find rock art inside these caves and shelters. These are the petroglyphs of the Bhimbetka. Petroglyphs are the petrographs of the Bhimbetka. Petrographs are the paintings, and there is this petroglyph also. This is engraving and painting. So now let's study Bhimbetka in much more detail. Bhimbetka, what the word means. So Bhimbetka is named after the character in Mahabharata, that is Bhim, and Baithak, it means the seat of Bhim. So literally if we see, Bhimbetka means seat of Bhim. Bhimbetka first finds mention in the Indian archaeological records as a Buddhist site. However, its painted rock shelters, the paintings were first discovered by V.S. Wakankar in 1957 and 1958. The hills of Bhimbetka are of sandstone and quartzite. Bhimbetka and its surrounding receive a rainfall of 1000 mm. That means that Bhimbetka, because of such rainfall, it is covered with dense vegetation. At least 30 species of plant types are found that form a rich source of edible tubers, fruits, and roots. Animals like deer, boar, nilgai, leopard, wolf, fox are commonly found animals today. Abundant fish is available in the stream. So, through these evidences, we can know why this site was so much favorable and why our Paleolithic and Mesolithic ancestors chose these rock shelters and caves, because it had huge variety of flora and fauna as well as fish for their sustenance. Okay, so the hills have an inexhaustible supply of fine-grained quartzite for making tools. A few kilometers south of Bhimbetka, we find that exposures of Deccan lavas are there, which contains quartz and siliceous minerals, which were used by the Mesolithic people to make tools and weapons. So it not only provided this site, not only provided them a good shelter, food, animals, fishes, but it provided them raw material to make tools and weapons as well. So this is the reason why this locality was so attractive to hunter and gatherers, because resources for shelter, food, water, and raw material were very easily available. V.S. Wakankar excavated 7 shelters and V.N. Mishra excavated 3. So, when V.S. Wakankar, he found evidences of early Acheulean culture and pre-Acheulean chopper and chopping tools. He also found a boundary wall made of large boulders to enclose the Acheulean habitation area. He also came across, as V.S. Wakankar excavated 7 shelters, he came across different findings, and he came across evidence of Middle Paleolithic, Upper Paleolithic, Mesolithic, early historic and medieval period occupations. In some shelters, he found human bones which he believed that were fossilized. Now let's study the rock paintings in detail. Out of 642 rock shelters in Bhimbetka, 400 have paintings, engravings, and bruisings. They exhibit the earliest pictorial traces of human life in the Indian subcontinent, and therefore primitive tribes still inhabit the surrounding, and this Bhimbetka site had been declared as an important World Heritage Site by UNESCO in the year 2003. This year is very important. In 2003, Bhimbetka was declared as an important World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Now let us see that what is shown in these rock arts, these paintings, what do they depict? So we see that the paintings occur on the walls and ceilings, and in the niches or hollows of the rock walls. They are made in red, white, yellow, green, and rarely black colors. The paintings at Bhimbetka are dominated by two types. Like, there are two dominant types of paintings, that is zoomorphs and anthropomorphs paintings. So the zoomorph paintings are animal art, and the anthropomorphs paintings are a combination of animals and human figures. We see a large variety of wild animals which are shown in the paintings, which are oxen, gaur, buffalo, antelope, etc. We see humans which are portrayed in the anthropomorphs paintings. They are portrayed as sitting, standing, walking, and running individually or in group. We see a series of hunting scenes of archers which are remarkable, and they also represent intergroup conflicts as well as clashes that took place between these groups of hunters and gatherers. Scenes of hunting show weapons such as spears, sticks, bow, arrows, traps, etc. The paintings which are made in the later period have human figures and designs in geometric patterns as well. As also they show ritualistic religious symbols as well as conch shell inscriptions. There are paintings of dance scenes and horse riding warriors with umbrella like headgears. Bhimbetka is an archaeological site of exceptional importance in terms of the record of prehistoric technology, economy, biology, and art. The complex, as we know, has more than 800 rock shelters, and out of those 800 rock shelters, we found that 600 and out of those 800 rock shelters in Bhimbetka, 400 have more than 400 have paintings, engravings, and bruising. The paintings can be divided into two chronological stages, which we are going to see here, that are historic, prehistoric, and historic. So the chief subject of prehistoric paintings is scenes of wild animals, hunting, trapping, and fishing. Less common are the depiction of daily life, such as celebrating a childbirth, singing, human dancing. These type of depictions are very less. The scenes in the historic painting comprises of procession of caparisoned elephants and horses and fighting with swords, shields, spears, bows and arrows. So what we see that there is historic division and the prehistoric division, but what is less common in these paintings is depiction of daily life events like dancing, singing, playing musical instrument, celebrating birth and grieving, sickness and death. These type of emotions or these type of situations that human being go through daily, we see that they are not depicted in these paintings. Now let's see the classification of Bhimbetka rock art complex. Different type of colors have been used in these paintings. The red color was made out of iron oxide, white from the limestone, and green from the green chalcedony. Some paintings are in monochrome, they use only one color, and some other are polychrome. There is a lot of movement in scenes. When we see these paintings, see these paintings and these paintings, we see a lot of movement in these paintings. These paintings also show a division of labor based on gender, whereas men are shown hunting and women are shown gathering and preparing food. Yashodhar Matpal and other scholars consider about 9 successive developmental phases in Bhimbetka rock art. These 9 phases are divided into 3 periods, which is the prehistoric, historic, and in between the prehistoric and historic comes the transitional period. So prehistoric period has 5 phases. In the phase 1, we see large size animals. In the phase 2, we see diminutive figures of animals which are full of life, colors and naturalistic. In phase 3, we see large sized animals with vertical stripes and humans. In phase 4, we see very simplified figures. In phase 5, we see decorative figures like large horned animals. In the transitional phase, this phase is known as transitional phase. This takes place at the beginning of agriculture life. We see, like, in different stages, we see different things are being depicted in these paintings. So in the transitional phase, we see that in phase 6, these the paintings, which they are quite different from the previous ones. They are conventional and schematic. Bodies of animals in rectangle with stiff legs. In the historic period, in the historic classification, we have two phases. The phase 7, we have three phases. So the phase 7, we see riders on horses and elephants, we see group dancers. In phase 8, we see bands of marching and facing soldiers, their chiefs riding elephants and horses equipped with long spears. And in phase 9, that is in the final phase, we see geometric human figures, designs, and known religious symbols and inscriptions. So we see that in different phases, the quality of paintings or the colors or the designs, whether the paintings are more conventional or the paintings have more movement or the paintings show more human figures, like each phase has a different category of painting and a different style of painting. So now let us end this lecture. The Mesolithic people we know occupied varied or ecological niches as compared to the earlier period. These Mesolithic people in their subsistence level were much like the Paleolithic hunter-gatherers. However, their mode of hunting-gathering became more intense. Their long experience and interaction with plants and animals made them species-specific hunter-gatherers. Now they hunted only specific species. This means that they favored some species of plants and animals over other. Culture that was produced in Europe during the post-Pleistocene period, that is early Holocene, is known as the Mesolithic culture. Thank you.